The wine glass shattered against the wall behind me, red liquid exploding like blood across my cream wallpaper. Shards rained onto the hardwood floor. I froze, hand still hovering near the wine bottle. Vanessa stood there, chest heaving, her perfectly manicured hand still extended from the throw. Everyone at the table went silent. My son Daniel stared at his plate like it held the answers to life. The other guests whispered behind their hands. I felt something warm on my cheek and touched it. Blood. A tiny shard had grazed me. Vanessa's face twisted into something ugly, then smoothed into a smirk. "You've embarrassed yourself enough tonight," she said, her voice dripping with false concern. My heart pounded. This woman, my daughter-in-law of 3 years, had just thrown a glass at my head because I'd politely said she'd had enough wine. I looked at Daniel again, silently begging him to say something, anything. He cut his steak and chewed slowly. Daniel cleared his throat awkwardly. "Let's just eat," he mumbled, not meeting anyone's eyes. I sat there, trembling hand pressed against the scratch on my cheek. Vanessa picked up her fork like nothing had happened. She speared a piece of asparagus and ate it delicately. The guests, 2 couples from their neighborhood, exchanged uncomfortable glances. One woman mouthed something to her husband. I wanted to stand up and leave my own dining room, but my legs felt like concrete. The humiliation burned hotter than any physical pain. This was my house, my dinner party, and I was being treated like the help who'd stepped out of line. Vanessa reached for the wine bottle herself, filling her glass to the brim. She took a long sip, eyes locked on mine over the rim. Then she leaned close enough that only I could hear. "You had this coming," she whispered. After the guests hurried out early, I cornered Daniel in the kitchen. "We need to talk about what just happened," I said, voice shaking. He loaded dishes into the dishwasher without looking at me. "Mom, can we not do this right now? Vanessa's been stressed with work." "Stressed?" I repeated, incredulous. "She threw a glass at my head, Daniel. I'm bleeding." He finally turned, but his eyes were tired, defeated. "You embarrassed her in front of our friends. You made a big deal about the wine." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I made a big deal. He's drunk, Daniel." Someone needed to. Footsteps in the hallway cut me off. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, phone held up, recording. The little red light blinked at me accusingly. "Still playing the victim, huh?" she said sweetly. "This is going to make great evidence for when we tell everyone how you really treated us tonight." I didn't sleep that night. At 6 a.m. I checked my phone and found messages from 3 different family friends. Each one asked if I was okay, but their tone was strange, careful. One said, "We heard what happened at dinner. Hope you're getting help." Getting help? For what? I opened Facebook with shaking hands. Vanessa's post sat at the top of my feed, posted at midnight. The carefully filtered photo showed her looking tearful and vulnerable. The caption read, "When family gatherings become toxic, sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones who hurt you most." Last night was a wake-up call, praying for healing and boundaries. No mention of the glass she threw. No mention of her drinking. Just vague implications that painted me as the villain. The comments section was filled with sympathy. "So sorry you're going through this. Stay strong. You deserve better." A neighbor had shared it. Had 10,000 likes. Over the next 3 days my phone rang constantly. Daniel's sister called first. "Mom, what's going on? Vanessa says you've been really difficult lately." Then his brother. "I know you're adjusting to them being married, but you need to give Vanessa space." Even my own sister called, voice tight with judgment. "I saw the post. Are you drinking too much? Is that what this is about?" Each conversation felt like drowning. Nobody asked for my side. Nobody questioned Vanessa's version. She'd spun a story where I was the jealous, controlling mother-in-law who couldn't let go. The narrative fit perfectly into what people wanted to believe. My reputation, built over 60 years, was crumbling in real time. Then my oldest friend, Margaret, came to my house. She sat at my kitchen table, hands wrapped around her coffee mug. I need to tell you something, she said quietly. Vanessa's been talking about you for months behind your back. The memory hit me like a punch. 3 years ago, at Daniel's engagement barbecue, I'd spent all morning preparing brisket, my late husband's recipe. Vanessa took one bite and made a face. Oh wow, that's definitely unique, she'd said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Then she laughed, touching my arm. I'm kidding. You know I'm just teasing. Everyone had laughed along. I'd forced a smile, told myself she was just trying to fit in, be funny. But her eyes had been cold, calculating. Over the next few months, there'd been other moments. Little comments about my decorating, jokes about my age, suggestions that I was stuck in the past because I didn't use social media much. Each time she'd frame it as playfulness. Each time Daniel had said nothing. Looking back now, I could see the pattern. She'd been undermining me from the start, chipping away at my credibility, my relationship with my son. And Daniel had never stopped her. Not once. Daniel stopped visiting. When I called, his voicemail was full. Text messages went unanswered for days. I drove past their house once and saw lights on, cars in the driveway, laughter through the windows. They were hosting a party. Nobody had invited me. Vanessa had blocked my number entirely. When I tried calling from a different phone, she answered, "Please stop harassing us," and hung up. My own son had chosen her lies over me. Social media became torture. They posted constantly. Dinner parties at my old china cabinet, the one I'd given them as a wedding gift. Game nights with friends I'd introduced them to. In one photo, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. My late husband's heirloom clock, the one from his grandfather, was missing from their mantel. I'd let them borrow it 2 years ago. Now it was just gone. I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to their house on a Tuesday afternoon, unannounced. Vanessa opened the door wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater. Her face went cold when she saw me. "He's not home," she said, already closing the door. "Vanessa, please. We need to talk about what happened. I just want to. Daniel doesn't want to see you right now. You need to respect that." But from inside the house, I heard his voice clearly. "Babe, who's at the door?" He was home. She was lying right to my face. "Please," I said, voice breaking. "He's my son." Vanessa's expression didn't change. "And he's my husband. He's made his choice." She started to close the door, but then I heard it. A child's giggle, high and sweet, coming from deeper in the house. My heart stopped. "Are you?" I couldn't finish the question. Vanessa's hand moved protectively to her stomach. She wasn't showing yet, but the gesture said everything. I drove home in a daze. Vanessa was pregnant. I was going to be a grandmother, and nobody had told me. The betrayal cut deeper than anything else. That night I couldn't sleep. I went to my home office and started sorting through old papers. My late husband Robert had always been meticulous about documents. I found our will, the one we'd updated 5 years before he died. But tucked behind it was an envelope I'd never noticed before. Robert's handwriting on the front, to be opened if necessary. Inside was a letter dated just weeks before his death. "My dearest love, I'm adding a condition to our estate planning. Our house, the savings, everything we built together. I'm leaving it all to Daniel as planned. But with one requirement. If our son ever disrespects you, or allows others to disrespect you in a way that breaks the family we've built, everything transfers back to you. Full ownership. You gave your life to this family. I won't let anyone take advantage of that." The next morning I called our family lawyer, Marcus Webb. He'd handled Robert's estate and knew our family well. I brought him the letter, my hands shaking. Marcus read it carefully, adjusted his glasses, and read it again. "This is extraordinary," he said finally. "Your husband had me draft an addendum to the will. It's legally binding. The condition is clear. Failure of filial duty results in the estate reverting to you." My voice came out barely above a whisper. "What counts as proof?" Marcus leaned forward. Documentation of mistreatment. Witnesses. Evidence that Daniel knew about the behavior and did nothing to stop it. The burden of proof is significant, but... He paused. Margaret, do you have evidence? I thought about the dinner party. The guests who'd witnessed everything. The messages from family members. Vanessa's social media posts. I think I do, I said. Marcus nodded slowly. Then start gathering it. Everything. Screenshots, witnesses, dates, times. Build your case carefully. I spent the next 2 weeks documenting everything. Screenshots of Vanessa's posts, saved with timestamps. Messages from family members showing how the narrative had spread. I contacted the couples who'd been at the dinner party. One husband agreed to give a statement about what he'd witnessed. I found old texts from Vanessa, ones I'd ignored at the time. Snide comments about my cooking. Jokes about my age. Complaints to Daniel about having to visit me. I'd kept them all without realizing. Then I discovered something crucial. Vanessa had uploaded videos to her Instagram stories. Most had expired, but she'd saved some to highlights. One showed Daniel laughing in their kitchen. Vanessa's voice off camera said, "Your mom called again. 3rd time today. She's so needy." Daniel had grinned. "She needs to find a hobby or something. Like we have our own lives now." The casualness of his cruelty hit me harder than the wine glass. My phone rang on a Thursday morning. Vanessa's name on the screen made me freeze. I almost didn't answer. "Hello." My voice was cautious. "Hi, Mom." She'd never called me Mom before. Always Margaret or Mrs. Hayes. "I've been thinking about everything that happened. I overreacted at dinner. The pregnancy hormones have me all over the place. I'm sorry." The words were right, but the tone was wrong. Too smooth, too practiced. "I'd like to make it up to you," she continued. "Come to dinner this Saturday. Just family. We can start fresh." Every instinct screamed trap. But I needed to know what she was planning. "Okay," I said carefully. "What time?" 6 o'clock. "And Mom, thank you for being so understanding. Family means everything." The call ended. I immediately called Marcus. "She's planning something," I told him. "Then go," he said. "But record everything legally. Your phone's voice recorder. Keep it in your pocket." Saturday arrived too quickly. I dressed carefully, chose a simple blue dress and pearl earrings. I drove to their house with my phone recording in my pocket. Daniel opened the door this time. "Hey, Mom," he said, but didn't hug me. The dining room table was set beautifully. Vanessa appeared from the kitchen, wearing a flowing maternity dress that emphasized her small bump. "You're glowing," I said because it was true. "Thank you. Pregnancy agrees with me." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Dinner was overly polite. Everyone commented on the food. Nobody mentioned the last time we'd gathered. Vanessa poured herself sparkling water, made a show of being responsible. Then, as dessert was being served, she stood up. She tapped her glass with a spoon. "I want to make a toast," she announced. "To new beginnings. And to Daniel's new inheritance. We've made some exciting decisions about our future." Vanessa's smile was radiant and poisonous. "Daniel and I have decided to sell the family house. You know, the one on Maple Street that's been in the Hayes family for 40 years. We've already spoken to a realtor. The market's hot right now. We should get a great price." My fork clattered against my plate. "That's my house. Robert left it to Daniel," Vanessa interrupted smoothly. "And as his wife, I'm part of that decision-making process. Community property and all that." I looked at my son. "Daniel." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mom, we need the money. The baby's coming. We want to buy something bigger in a better school district. You understand. But I live there. It's my home. And we'll help you find a nice apartment," Vanessa said kindly. "Something more manageable for someone your age. Less maintenance, you know." The room tilted. My throat closed. But I kept my face calm, forced my lips into a smile. I see, I said quietly. I left their house at 9 o'clock and drove straight to Marcus's office. He was working late. I played him the recording. His face darkened as he listened. They're trying to force you out before you can act, he said. The house is technically in Daniel's name from the inheritance. But with this new evidence, plus everything else you've gathered, we have grounds. For what? Yes. To invoke the condition in your husband's will. The estate reverts to you. The house, the remaining savings, all of it. I thought about my sweet boy, the one who'd held my hand at his father's funeral. The one who'd promised to always take care of me. Do it, I said. Marcus nodded. I'll file the paperwork Monday morning. Be prepared. This is going to get ugly. I went home and spent the weekend organizing every piece of evidence into a folder. Each screenshot, each statement, each recording labeled and dated. The papers were served on Tuesday. I wasn't there, but Marcus called me immediately after. Daniel's lawyer just contacted me. They're stunned. Vanessa called 3 times in 10 minutes. An hour later, someone pounded on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Vanessa, face flushed with rage. I opened the door but kept the chain on. You'll regret this, she screamed. You're stealing from your own grandchild. What kind of grandmother does that? The kind who won't be pushed out of her own home, I said calmly. That house is mine. Your husband lost his inheritance the moment he chose your cruelty over his mother. This is elder abuse, she shouted. I'm calling the police. I'm calling social services. Everyone will know what you've done. Good, I said. Let them investigate. They'll find all the evidence I've collected. Every text, every post, every witness statement. Go ahead. Make it public. Her face went pale. She hadn't expected that. I closed the door and locked it. My hands were shaking, but I felt powerful for the first time in months. I didn't make it public. Someone else did. One of the guests from that first dinner party, the wife who'd witnessed everything, had kept her own recording. She'd filmed the moment Vanessa threw the glass. On Wednesday morning, she posted it to Facebook with a simple caption. Sometimes the truth needs to be told. The video went viral. Within hours, it had thousands of shares. Then tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands. My phone exploded with messages. Family members apologizing. Friends expressing shock. Even strangers sending support. The video showed everything. Vanessa's drunken aggression. The glass shattering. My bleeding face. Daniel's complete inaction. News outlets picked it up. Local woman assaulted by daughter-in-law. Made regional headlines. By evening it had 3 million views. Vanessa's carefully crafted victim narrative crumbled in real time. Her Instagram went private. Her Twitter disappeared. But the internet never forgets. Screenshots of her old posts resurfaced. The ones mocking me. The ones showing her true character. Daniel's job as a marketing manager suffered. His company's social media was flooded with comments. How can we trust someone who lets his mother be abused? Fire him. This reflects poorly on your company values. They put him on administrative leave pending review. Vanessa lost her influencer sponsorships. The lifestyle brands that had paid her to post dropped her immediately. Nobody wanted to be associated with the woman from that video. I received a voicemail from Vanessa. Her voice was shaking, no longer controlled. You've ruined us. Daniel might lose his job. All my partnerships are gone. Are you happy now? In the background I could hear Daniel. This is your fault. You couldn't just control yourself. You had to throw that glass. You had to be so cruel to her. Me. Vanessa shrieked. You ruined us by not controlling your mother. You were supposed to handle her. The voicemail cut off. He saved it. Just in case. Daniel showed up at my door on Friday evening. His eyes were red, face unshaven, clothes wrinkled. He looked 10 years older than the last time I'd seen him. Mom, he said, voice breaking. Can I come in? I stepped aside. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd taught him to read, bandaged his scraped knees, celebrated his achievements. "Vanessa filed for divorce," he said flatly. "She says I'm worthless now. No money, no job prospects, no future. She doesn't want the baby to grow up with a failure." He started crying. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have protected you. I should have stood up to her. I was scared of losing her, and instead I lost you. I lost everything." I wanted to comfort him. Years of motherhood made me want to pull him close. But I remembered the recording. "Your mom needs to find a hobby. She's so needy. You chose your side long ago," I said quietly. "When you laughed at her jokes about me. When you stayed silent. When you let her throw that glass." The doorbell rang the next morning. I opened it to find an older woman I didn't recognize. She had Vanessa's eyes. "I'm Carol Thompson," she said. "Vanessa's mother. May I come in?" "Matey." We sat at my kitchen table. "I need to apologize," Carol said. "And warn you. My daughter has done this before." She pulled out her phone and showed me messages. Screenshots going back years. Vanessa discussing marriage plans with different men. Analyzing their family wealth. Planning how to manipulate situations to her advantage. "She married a man before Daniel," Carol explained. "Wealthy family. She isolated him from them, turned him against his parents. When they changed their will, she divorced him and moved on to her next target." "Daniel," I whispered. Carol nodded. "I tried to warn him. She cut me off. I haven't spoken to my daughter in 2 years." She slid a folder across the table. "This is everything. Her patterns, her previous schemes, testimony from the other family she destroyed. Use it." Marcus filed the additional evidence immediately. Carol's testimony, the messages proving premeditation, everything. The judge reviewing our case scheduled an emergency hearing. Vanessa showed up with an expensive lawyer. I had Marcus and the truth. The judge reviewed the evidence carefully. The dinner video. The medical report from my cut. The witness statements. Carol's testimony about Vanessa's history. Robert's letter and the will condition. Finally she looked up. "I find the evidence overwhelming. Margaret Hayes. The estate reverts to you in its entirety. Additionally, Vanessa Thompson Hayes. You are hereby served with eviction papers. You have 30 days to vacate the property on Maple Street." Vanessa jumped to her feet. "That's not fair. I'm pregnant. Where am I supposed to go?" "Perhaps somewhere without a kind older woman to victimize," the judge said coldly. The gavel came down. It was over. I had won. But I felt no joy. Just exhaustion and loss for the family we'd once been. Vanessa showed up at my house one last time. She didn't knock, just let herself in with a key I'd forgotten she had. I was in the kitchen making coffee. "You think you've won," she hissed. "You've destroyed a marriage. You're keeping money from your own grandchild." Turned slowly. "You taught me how to fight back," I said. "With your own cruelty. Every manipulation. Every lie. Every calculated move. You showed me exactly what I was dealing with. That baby is your blood. That baby will be better off without your influence," I replied. "Maybe being away from you will give Daniel a chance to be a real father." Vanessa grabbed a glass from the counter and hurled it at me. This time I stepped aside. It shattered against the cabinet behind me. "You missed," I said calmly. "Just like you missed the part where I installed security cameras after the last time." I pointed to the small camera in the corner. She went pale, turned and ran. I never saw her again. Vanessa left town 3 weeks later. No forwarding address. No goodbye. Just gone. Daniel moved into a small apartment near his parents' old neighborhood. He got a job at a different company, entry level, starting over. I received the divorce papers in the mail. He'd been served too. But along with his papers came a handwritten letter. "Mom, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I failed you in every way. I let someone poison the most important relationship in my life. I was weak and stupid and cruel. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know I'm sorry." Kept the letter. I didn't respond yet. Then my lawyer called. Vanessa's filing a lawsuit. Emotional damages. She claims you deliberately destroyed her reputation. I laughed. Actually laughed. Let her try. The courthouse date was set. I wasn't worried. The courtroom was nearly empty. Just me, Marcus, Vanessa, her lawyer, and the judge. Vanessa wore a modest dress and minimal makeup. The victim costume again. Her lawyer argued emotional distress. They claimed I'd manipulated events to destroy her life. Then Marcus stood up. He played the dinner video again. Then the recording of her and Daniel mocking me. Then Carol's testimony about Vanessa's history. Then the recording from my kitchen security camera showing her throwing the second glass. Your Honor, Marcus said, Mrs. Hayes didn't destroy anyone's reputation. She simply documented the truth. Ms. Thompson destroyed herself. The judge didn't even deliberate long. Case dismissed, she said firmly. Ms. Thompson, I suggest you focus on being a better person rather than suing people who expose your behavior. Consider this a warning. Cruelty leaves its own trail. This court has no patience for manipulators. Vanessa stood up, face red, mouth open. But no words came. She turned and walked out. I breathed freely for the first time in months. 6 months later I hosted a dinner party. Real friends this time. Margaret. Carol, who'd become an unexpected friend. A few neighbors who'd supported me. Even Daniel, who I'd slowly let back into my life with careful boundaries. The table was beautiful. Candles flickered. Wine glasses gleamed. I'd made Robert's brisket recipe. As we ate, laughed, and talked, I looked around at these people who'd stood by me. Who'd told the truth even when it was hard. Who'd chosen kindness over cruelty. Daniel helped me clear plates. He didn't say much, but he was there. Actually there, present and trying. Maybe someday we'd fully repair what Vanessa had broken. Or maybe this careful peace was all we'd ever have. Either way, I was okay. I poured myself a glass of wine and raised it. To the truth, I said. Everyone raised their glasses. To the truth. I smiled and took a sip. I used to think silence was grace, I said quietly. Now I know sometimes grace needs a lawyer.